We've just had news through. Penny Wong is set to visit China, so the first of the Australian government to visit specifically that country. What do you make of that? It's clearly a continued thawing of sorts. How significant?
Well, very significant. I mean, who can remember the last time an Australian foreign minister actually visited mainland China? That is fantastic news. And it sort of builds on her line this year of meeting with her counterpart, Wang Yi, and also with Richard Marles meeting his counterpart in June. And obviously we had Prime Minister Anthony Albanese meet Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the G20. I would note, however, that after that meeting between Prime Minister Albanese and Xi Jinping, our Prime Minister put out a media statement. It was about 144 words only. And if you contrast that with our meeting with the United States earlier this month, the Osman meeting between our foreign and defence ministers, the statement we put out after that was almost 4,000 words. It's like almost a small book. So you can see the difference in substance of what we have to talk about with China. So I think Penny Wong will have to prepare for that visit to China exceedingly carefully, as it is a sort of watershed moment in the relationship.
All right, yep. So that visit will happen on the 21st of December. Penny Wong will travel there, and that will mark 50 years since ties between the Australian government and the Chinese Communist Party, the Chinese government effectively. Of course, that reaching out happening under Gough Whitlam. So she'll travel tomorrow, and it's set to that meeting take place on the 21st. So that's just through. Hayley, we wanted to talk as well about Osman, interesting meetings between Australia and the US of late. Are we reading the tea leaves here and talking about all the cooperation? And I know we were expecting this, but that the subs are more likely to have, or almost certain to have, a US involvement in terms of Australia's next submarine program. And when the US is already talking about helping bridge the capability gap through rotating subs through the country?
Well, as many people know, the AUKUS statement was one of the largest announcements ever between Australia, the United Kingdom and the United States, and we can definitely expect the United States will have a heavy involvement in that project over the coming years and decades. We're expecting an announcement in March on that submarine and emerging technology sharing agreement. And I think what's very important to note will be not just whether or not Australia gets 12 nuclear-powered submarines and how much it costs. The main value that AUKUS can bring us is to actually change the technology sharing restrictions that the United States has, what are called ITAR restrictions. Currently, those restrictions apply to every country in the world equally. So when the United States is considering transferring its technology to Australia, it considers Australia on the same line as, North Korea or Iran. So if the AUKUS agreement can actually make some change within the US domestically, we'll be able to, or the United States will be able to work more with its allies across the world on different core technologies that will be beneficial for helping us secure our positions in the Indo-Pacific region. Something else out of Osman that was very interesting, however, wasn't just the defence and security aspects like AUKUS, it was also on climate change, because now that we have a Labor government and we have both a progressive government in Australia and the United States, climate change is a major issue for them to consider. And they both made commitments. So the United States has committed to reduce emissions by 50% by 2030 and Australia by 43% by 2030. So we're seeing more eye to eye on the climate change question. And climate change is not necessarily something that you would think of in terms of the Australia-US alliance, but it is becoming a bigger issue, particularly also with how we influence countries in the Pacific and crowd out Chinese involvement in the Pacific.
Hayley, Channa, great to get your thoughts, including on that breaking news regarding that visit of Penny Wong to China. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom.